So I read your paper, or your books, your nonfiction books about ancient China. I'm really impressed with the research that you guys did and just how they came together. I wanted to pull you guys in here as a group because something that I think we could talk about to make your writing even better are introductions and introductory sentences, topic sentences for paragraphs, okay? So I'm going to read you an introduction that has nothing to do with ancient China. And we're going to talk about why introductions are important, okay? So this one is kind of a silly introduction, and she's using humor. So see if you can pick up on that. This girl writes, she's writing a pamphlet, and she says, "This pamphlet is your guide to quick and easy outhouse cleaning." Do you guys know what an outhouse is? No? Think back before there were bathrooms, like a long time ago. Do you know? Could you describe it?
Kind of like outside where everyone uses steak.
It's like a bathroom, but with no running water.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of a hole in the ground.
So
she's talking about...
Is next door masjid?
Yeah. So this is a pamphlet for quick and easy outhouse cleaning. Your sparkling, fresh-smelling outhouse can be the envy of all your neighbors. Guests will remark that your privy is the best that they have ever visited. If you want to hear all sorts of wonderful things about your outhouse, read the following pages carefully and enjoy with the author's compliments. Okay, so I read that because we're going to talk about introductions.
That's not funny.
It's kind of silly because she's... Why? Who thinks it was kind of silly? What was silly about it?
Wait, there's a hole in the ground and that's what they... She's like...
But what... Yeah, what is she...
Fresh.
She's talking about it being clean and fresh, and it's totally the opposite. So part of what's so important about introductions is that they're kind of like a first impression. They're like a handshake with your reader, and you really want to hook them in, right? And because we wrote a book that had so many topic sentences, you guys had an opportunity to write a lot of different types of introductions. So I noticed a lot of you really like to use questions to introduce your topics, and I think that worked really well. What I wanted to do today was give you guys a few more options for your writing in the future that you could try using. So I'm going to give you guys each this paper, and we're going to go through it, okay?
What happened?
Oh man, the whole pen's gone. I don't know. That's no good. Don't worry too much about it here. I'm going to move this just out of the way.
We teach English.
We, what?
We teach English in this class.
We do work on English in here. Okay. Thank you, Bella. Okay, so in the beginning of this paper it says, why do I need an introduction? And do you guys think that there's anything else we need to add other than telling the reader what you're writing about and to capture their attention?
Giving the background information.
Yeah, introductions could maybe give the reader a little bit of background information too.
This?
Sure, if you want to, yeah. If you want to take some notes on it, these are yours to keep. I'm going to have you glue them in your writer's notebook. So, after we talk about what and why you need an introduction, we have the introduction don'ts. Some things that you might want to avoid doing, or maybe just not do repeatedly every single time. And there's a couple of those. One, you don't really want to introduce yourself as the author. Why do you think that wouldn't work very well?
Since they'll think you copied it.
Well, here, Ben, why don't you read what I wrote there, this first bullet point here. What does it say?
Do not wait.
Yeah, do not introduce yourself as the author, and then what did I put?
Hi, I'm Nora, and today I'm going to write about
Fall, like autumn. So, if you're introducing yourself as the reader, or as the author, do you think that there's a professional sound to that?
No.
Do you think that sounds like a book that you guys would use to research?
Yeah. No.
Do you think, in any of the books that you guys were reading about ancient civilizations, do you think that any of the authors, or did you notice any of the authors doing that?
No.
Not really. And the other thing is that you don't want to give it all away in the first sentence. You want to hook the reader, but then make them want to read on. So what I gave you here are some other options, some different ways to get the reader's attention. Bella, what's the first way that we could have grab attention? What was that first bullet point under?
Do not introduce yourself as the author.
Not that one. Right under here, where the attention grabbers are. What's one way we can grab somebody's attention?
Describe a scene.
A scene, yeah. Describe a setting. So mine was about snowboarding. Can you read to me what I wrote? Snowboard.
Imagine you're surfing over a wave, then whoosh, you're flying through the air, twisting through a skateboarding trick before landing on a snowy path below. You wouldn't be surfing or skateboarding, you'd be snowboarding.
So below that, I gave you guys a few different sentence starters. Do you see those there?
Imagine something,
Yep.
something.
So like I just did, imagine you're surfing over a wave. Da, 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 da. You wouldn't be surfing or skateboarding, you'd be
Snowboarding.
snowboarding. All right, Ben, what's the next sentence starter below that one? Right here.
Think of a time when ...
So you could use that as a sentence starter for describing a scene. What's the next one? Can you read me the next one?
Describe the area where your topic is located. Look closely and you'll probably see something.
So how could we use that for ancient China? Maybe you're talking about the terracotta warriors. And you're saying, oh, there's a grassy hill, but if you look closely, you might see some clay sticking out of the ground. And then you could go into where the terracotta warriors were found, right?
Wait, you go.
And then what's the last sentence starter for that one? It says there is no mistaking, and then you can describe whatever it is you're talking about. So those are different ways you guys can describe a setting or a scene. Ben, what's the next way you could grab somebody's attention? This is what a lot of you guys did, using questions.
Question. What is the only season of the year with fun holidays? Hey!
Keep going. Fun holidays.
Holidays, beautiful colors, and amazing weather. My favorite season, fall.
Fall. It's just another one for autumn.
Mine is summer.
So that's one way that you could ask a question. What are our other sentence starters there? We've got, you probably noticed, blank, but have you ever wondered? And then you'll get the reader thinking about whatever your topic is. And they'll probably want to read on. And then if you're comparing two things you guys could use, you might wonder if blank and blank have anything in common. The last prompt for that one is, what is blank but isn't a blank? So I want you guys to try using some of these in your next writing assignment, okay? So you're going to glue this into your writer's notebook. And I know you have to do, are you guys writing a short bit for your next ancient civilization, or are you not doing any writing piece at all?
We are doing it, but not now.
Okay, and it's going to be much shorter. It won't be a whole book, right?
No, it's not even, it's like juice if it's like a diary and it can be in your phone. If there's a diary.
I know you guys have all those options, but are you going to be doing just a short bit of writing about your ancient civilization also?
Yeah, about that's why we're taking notes.
Okay, great. So when you guys are doing this writing, I want you to be thinking about this. And I pulled this, when I looked through your papers, I was pulling right from this rubric, or right from this checklist that you guys I know have. So I looked right here at this lead and coming up with different ways that you can hook your audience, okay? So these are different ways that you're able to hook your audience, all right? So we're gonna go put this in our writer's notebook. And then I am looking forward to reading your next piece of writing. I want to see you guys try to use one of these, okay?
Miss Nadia.
What I did was I went through your papers and I looked at how you guys were doing with this checklist. You've seen this before, right? You have it? And I think you guys are doing a really great job. I'm really impressed with the research that you've done, and I think you did a nice job organizing things, putting it all together into a book. I enjoyed reading them. I learned a lot. And so the one area I wanted to talk about you guys getting even better at is actually one of the tougher ones, I think, and it's elaboration. And that can be kind of tricky to do, especially in nonfiction writing. So what I did for us is I made you guys a little handout that has some sentence starters. And then some strategies where sometimes I'll get stuck, I'll be using the same strategy to elaborate on something, and it either gets repetitive or I run out of ways to elaborate. So what you can do with this bottom part of the page is, say you're doing a really good job with using description words with a setting, and you do that often, and you're wondering, okay, well, I don't know how else to elaborate. You have 5 other strategies now that you guys could try using, along with some sentence starters. Okay? So I'm going to give each of you one of these, and you can glue it into your writer's notebook when we go back to class. And you can be using this for, I think you guys are going to do a shorter piece of writing for your own ancient civilization. So I want to see you guys using some of these sentence starters or strategies.
I'm not doing a writing.
I know you have the choice where you have the iMovie, the puppet show, the play, all of that stuff. I don't know though if you'll have a small paragraph.
Yeah, you have a little card to throw
for your artifact, right? So this would be a great opportunity to elaborate on that card. So I was noticing, Rachel, the part that you had, I think it was on page 2. Here, let's look at this one here because you can write on it. Where you're talking about farming. Oh, you might have fixed it here. But I was thinking you could elaborate a little bit on how the people in China were farmers and why that ties into everything. So I was thinking that could be the area you can look at right now. And then for silk, it was the process of making silk. I think it was on the 2nd page here.
What's E? Oh yeah,
Elaborate, yeah.
Then what's
the
I?
process introduction. Process of making silk. I have it written on mine.
What's I?
Yeah, right there. And then for the calligraphy, how printing helped people.
Is this like
You had it.
Wait, I saw Ariel had a picture. Yeah, but which I had a picture of it.
Yeah. Oh, that's not important right now. Let me look on my copy because I had it written down. So what I want you to do while I'm getting that out is you're going to look at some of these different strategies, and I want you to try using one of them or some of the sentence starters and add in a little bit more to that section to elaborate on it, okay?
Are you sure these are not fiction strategies?
Some of them you might lend themselves more to fiction, but I think you could figure out and be creative, figure out a way to use them with nonfiction. Calligraphy, let me find that really quick. Oh, it was in chapter 2, the end of chapter 2.
Because I combined the Chinese.
Okay, so it might have changed a little bit.
So around here.
Okay, you had a sentence that said, printing came along and became handier, but writing still helped people in different ways.
Yeah.
And it was the different ways. I want you to elaborate on the different ways.
So when I was revising it, I kind of like.
You ended up elaborating a bit?
Like I
You took that sentence.
Yeah, I changed it a little.
Okay.
Wait a moment.
So Rachel, when you're talking about, here, they're not going to be the same. This is from before, so it's okay. I want you though, while in the part about farming, I want you to try to use one of these sentence starters or a strategy to elaborate a little bit, and you can just edit on it right here on paper. Okay? And then in the process of describing the process of silk, on the next page, you can write on it. You can choose a pen that you like. So,
What happened to this pen? Look.
it broke, I know.
It goes first. This one's good. Oh, is it this pen?
no, it wasn't the story. It was.
Where's the cover page?
It's that doesn't.
It's
They're back, double back to back, but you're working on this page, Rachel. So don't worry. I can even move all of these away if they're distracting. Because all I want you looking at is just that one part there, and just practice using one of these. We're not gonna. This is just for practice. Yeah, think about that paragraph and how you could maybe elaborate on it. Okay, so yeah, think about that section, how you could elaborate. And then, you did a wonderful job editing and revising. So if I wrote down that previous sentence, could you practice with that one? Let me write it on a page for you then. We'll write it on the back of this one. Okay.
Where's the front page of this?
Okay, so you're just gonna take this from here and take this sentence and try using the strategy or a sentence starter on how to elaborate on it, okay? So
So
Rachel.
this part? Do you guys have a lighter?
No, we don't, I'm sorry.
It's like this.
So that writing skill help people in different ways. The different ways is what you could elaborate on. Or you could elaborate using maybe like this is important because. So what could we do with elaborating here? People are trying to work farmers, then the people are trying to travel around and hunt and discover new areas of China. Why is that important?
Because if they didn't just like find new parts of China, China might not be like that like big today.
Okay. And specifically, you're talking about inventions and discovering new things, right? So, they had to travel around to discover new areas of China. As a result, could you use that sentence starter? How could you finish that sentence? I want you to write it right here for me. Okay? Yep. Ooh, pencils too. Those pencils are finicky. This one's gotta go.
This one's broken. Don't throw it away.
That one's.
I don't think I can explain this.
That one's a bit tricky. Use just a pencil then if it's too tough.
Oh, it's the same kind of color. It's just readable.
Just use a pencil if they're finicky. You might be on their last line. So they traveled to hunt, and as a result, China was
discovered.
Was all of China discovered because of that, or what could you say?
Most of China.
More of China, maybe, yeah, most of China.
Discovered.
It's kind of a scary picture, I know. Okay, so you saying as a result, most of China was discovered. Ooh. So what does that support the idea of? What was important about them traveling and with inventions?
And without them, China would not be as big as it is today.
Okay, so for this reason, or what could you use? Without travel? Yeah, without them traveling. As a result, China was discovered, and without them, China would not be as big as it is today. Do you think that the inventions, there would be an effect on the inventions if they hadn't traveled?
I don't know.
What do you think?
I think there will, because if they travel like to places like beside the ocean, they might invent like stuff that helps them sail or.
Okay, so maybe
But I'm not sure, so I can't like just write it in.
you could say this supports the idea that traveling influenced their inventions or something like that, right? How are you doing over here with silk? What kind of ideas are you coming up? Clarify your silk shoes.
Instead of this.
Oh, okay. Or let's see here. Silk is still the best. You could even use it here though. Then Japan, Korea, and other parts of Asia discovered the secret. This proves that China. This proves, or you could say that, and still the best quality comes from China and India. This proves that how they make their silk is still superior.
That,
It's
like,
still, how would you want to say it?
this person in China is
Leading leader.
Miss Laura,
Yeah.
did you come to our classroom yesterday or the day before yesterday?
I popped in yesterday to say hi to you guys, but I wasn't here for the morning.
They never wear the pants that you wore yesterday again.
The pants? Okay. So, when you guys are having a tough time coming up with new ideas to push your thinking and push your writing, I want you to come back to this page because I think even trying to just finish some of these sentences will get you thinking more about what it is you're really trying to say and what you're really trying to teach your reader.
Yes, I never wear that.
Okay? So, we can take these and glue them into our reader's notebook, and then we're going to head back to class. Alrighty?
Should I keep these pages?
You can. We were just using them as